Today I want to be teaching you guys how to reset your car ECM, ECU, and later on in the next video I'm going to teach you how to reset your DCM, the transmission control module. Now, why do people reset the ECM? I talked about it in the previous video, so go and watch it. All the benefit you need to get when you reset your ECM or engine control unit is there in that video. I will place the link below this very video description here. So the three method I'm going to be teaching you on how to reset the PCM, ECM or ECU today. The first is the common one which everybody teaches. When you pop the hood open and come over here, different car makes and model varies. And so if you are dealing with a Peugeot, it's very important for most of you who often forget quickly to remove your key from the ignition. That is number one. You might decide to lock your door if it is not automatic lock. Then you come over here and pull the negative terminal. Alright, so let's go ahead and pull this one. Okay, this is quite a little bit stiff. Okay, this is quite okay. Wiggle it. Okay, now it's out. Now for a long time I haven't reset the ECM of this very car, so this is probably the best way I'm going to be teaching you on how to reset it. So I'm going to be using mine as an example. So at this very point here, the first thing which you need to do in some case is to pull the second head too, but ideally as soon as you remove one, there is no need to remove. Like the same way you use on your phone, your smartphones, your laptop, your desktop, touch screens, flash drive, you name it, USB cables and all that. So this computer receives all those kind of things. Then the other thing that you have to understand there is I'm trying to tell you this so that you know the implication of what you're doing. So there's store powers there and they have algorithm. This computer have algorithm. So resetting the ECM or this ECM, ECU, this computer is resetting the algorithm. I hope that is clearly understood. So, and those resets can come either by using a powerful scan tool or through this method. Now, once you have done removing this, I want you to understand the implication of what you're trying to do. The implication here is that these have chips and have SMDs, capacitors that store charge for later use. That later use I'm talking about is to keep the memory of your computer, onboard computer, which is somewhere around here, alive. And therefore, when you decided to pull power, when you decided to disconnect it from the battery, just like I did right now, and leave it for some times, the battery is going to drain. But a quick way to do it is just what you might be seeing a lot of people doing. What's another thing you should understand about this is you are completely resetting the algorithm of the car computer. Now, every computer have algorithm, and that algorithm is what I defined to you, that is the pattern of your usage, the pattern of your input values, the input values which the computer receives from all these modules, from you stepping on the gas pedal, from your driving, the way you drive, and it opens this butterfly flap up and down, the way you step on it very harsh. All that is your own algorithm and record which this computer have, and it gives some certain percentage of fuel consumption to that, in as much as all these input sensors such as oxygen sensors, this guy here, ignition coil, map sensors, all of them are doing what they are designed to do, including your throttle body, that have your air intake temperature sensor, throttle position sensor, idle air control valve, and all that, all are encapsulated in this whole thing we're talking about here. So you are basically resetting the algorithm. So the first method, which I said here, is now to get it, then you can find something like this and make sure that it's having a contact with this guy right here, or find a wire to bind it, find a wire to bind these two together. Once you get one of them out of the system, if you don't get it out and you leave it here and you do it, you're going to short circuit this battery and you're going to create a problem. The onboard computer might not be affected, but this battery might be needing a replacement after that. So you leave it like this, right? Make sure that they're having a very good contact. Then leave it there for like 30 minutes. Sometimes it can take more. Some cars take more time to drain the whole battery, because right now what you're doing, you are not allowing it to discharge those powers which the SMDs and some other chip inside the computer board is having. Instead, you are forcing it to quickly discharge those powers. So after 30 minutes, you can reconnect it back and start the car. That is the first stage. The second stage is simply disconnect it just like I disconnected right like this and leave it there. Come back the next day and it's resetted. Then the reason there is why you need to use multiple methods to actually do this is you might leave it for the next day. Some of those SMDs might be having the capability of storing power up to 2 weeks at a stretch to keep the computer memory in check, right? So if you do it within just a day, you might not properly reset it. That is why you need to apply this second method, right? After applying this, if you want it to be fully resetted, you might just do this, short circuit these two power probe where it takes the power in, then you are done. So you now understand the first and second method of resetting your ECM, and you know the implication of what you're doing. Now, it's not going to drain only the battery from the engine control module or the computer, the onboard computer. It also drains the power that goes into the ICs that controls this. It's also drains also the power that goes this, and that is why in most Japanese model, if you do this, you're going to be needing to relearn the system. Again, you're going to be needing to relearn the throttle. And after that, you're also going to be needing to have some sort of a driving pattern, which is going to set up the new algorithm that the computer is going to use to adjust the fuel trims of this very car when you drive around. So, because it pulls also power from here, that is why in most Japanese, after you do this, you're going to need to, there is a relearn procedure for this, which you can use a scan to or without a scan to. Now, what is the last part? The last part here to reset the ECM is also to pull this battery terminal off and make sure it remains here. Then come along inside the car. Then put on the headlight. All right. Put down the headlight, switch it up and on. All right. Then step on the brake pedal multiple times and hold it, because the brake actually takes a lot of power. All right, because the brake is dealing with the ABS, the anti-brake locking system, and the anti-brake locking system takes some amount of power to actually make sure that the stability of the car is as is engineered, and also to help you with the braking by through this servo and suction each time you push on it with this check valve in place. So when you step on the brake, it takes a lot of power, it drains a lot of power from this ABS control module, which is somewhere around here. So that is why we say that each time you do this, you are resetting basically almost every control modules that is inside the car. Now, for the ABS control module, you drain the power there after disconnecting, and you step on the brake pedal multiple times. Then that is done with. You can also on every other manual switch as much as the headlamp which I've just showed you here, to make sure that every power that is stored in your circuit that have not been drained are completely drained. By so doing, you have resetted this control modules that is in the car. Now what do you need to do after resetting of control modules? You need to drive up to like 10 to 15 minutes and keep the RPM below 3000. So it should be around 15 or 200, which means the speed is going to be somewhere around 40 for 10 minutes. I'm not talking about parking it in a place and letting the car to idle. No, you should drive around, just a little drive around, and keep it under 40 or 30. And when you do that, you are simply teaching the computer the new algorithm of your driving habit, and it's going to use that efficiently to trim your fuel and give you a better gas mileage, and uses that also to cut and adjust the injector pulse width. So technically speaking, what this does is resetting it back to factory default as it is, in as much as all these components are working. But for Toyota models and some other that you started the car after resetting all this and you started seeing a surging idle, or the idle started going down, have it at the back of your mind that resetting it can also trigger some other functions, some other malfunctions, amplifying every other malfunction that have been existing, but they have not completely been open or been present for the onboard computer to record them as faulty. So at that, you should be ready for the worst case scenario.